When a man known only as evil discovers a power the world was never meant to witness, the power of the Rizadent, every secret kept in darkness crawls to the surface. If you want more chilling, mysterious, adrenaline-loaded stories like this, make sure you subscribe and never miss the next drop. Evil had always been the kind of man who walked in shadows even when the sun blazed overhead. People in the old town of Caravan said there was something unusual about him, not evil, not dangerous, but different, as if he carried a storm inside his chest and was always waiting for the wind to give him permission to unleash it. Evil himself didn't know when he began feeling that burning pulse under his skin, but he remembered the first night the dreams started, a colossal tower wrapped in spirals of light, a doorway made of smoke, and a symbol glowing the color of molten silver. In the dream, a voice whispered one word, Rizadent. He would wake shaking, the word echoing through his bones like a curse, and though he never understood its meaning, he understood its weight. It wasn't just a word, it was a calling, dragging him towards something unknown, something immense. Evil's life had been quiet before the dreams. He worked in a rusted repair shop on the edge of Caravan, fixing broken radios and old machines. People brought more out of nostalgia than need. His world was grease, metal, and silence, until the day a stranger with pale gray eyes walked into his shop holding a small black box covered in symbols Evil had never seen, yet somehow recognized from the dreams. The stranger placed the box on Evil's counter without speaking. Evil stared at it, and the box pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. The stranger finally spoke, voice low and sharpened like a blade. You've been hearing the call. You're ready now. Evil's breath froze. What call? He demanded, though he already knew the answer. The man touched the box's lid. The Rizadent chooses only one every generation. And it has chosen you. Before Evil could respond, the man vanished, literally vanished, like smoke collapsing into itself, leaving only the box and a faint metallic smell behind. Evil didn't believe in magic, destiny, or legends. He believed in gears, wires, and predictable systems. But the box was different. When Evil finally gave in and opened it, the world shifted. The room darkened, the air thickened, and a surge of scorching energy exploded into his hands. A mark bloomed across his palm, the same molten silver symbol from his dreams. He collapsed to the floor, whispering the word that now felt carved into his soul, Rizadent. That night, Evil learned everything. The Rizadent was not a power, it was a role, a burden, a weapon. Centuries ago, the world had been protected not by armies or kings but by individuals chosen to hold a fragment of primordial force called the Veilspark. The Rizadents were guardians of unseen realms, standing at the border between the human world and the abyss beneath it. They fought entities that did not belong to Earth, creatures that fed on human fear and memory. But time erased the legends, humanity forgot, and the Rizadent line faded, until Evil. The mark on his palm was a seal and a key. Once awakened, it connected him to the remnants of the old guardians, flooding his mind with their memories, their battles, their deaths. Evil felt their pain, their strength, their desperation. He understood now. Something was coming. Something the last Rizadent had died trying to contain. And he had only days before the seal fractured completely. The first sign appeared in Caravan's cemetery. Graves cracked open from the inside, not by the dead, but by shadows leaking through fractures in reality. People reported seeing shapes that moved. Without walking, eyes that glowed from rooftops, whispers crawling through bedrooms in the dead of night. Animals fled the town. Birds refused to fly over it. The mayor blamed gas leaks and hysteria. But Evil saw the truth. The abyss was rising. Evil trained himself day and night, learning to channel the Veilspark energy. It wasn't magic, it felt more like tuning a hidden frequency inside himself. When he focused, he could bend shadows, slow time, sense distortions in reality. But every use drained him, and the mark on his palm grew hotter each time, warning him of something catastrophic building beneath the surface. He needed guidance, and the only clue he had was the stranger with the pale gray eyes. Evil searched relentlessly, following trails of occurrences that defied logic, strange lights, disappearing people, unstable echoes of the veil. With each encounter, his power grew, but so did the presence watching him. One night, while walking the abandoned railway at the edge of town, Evil felt heat flood his palm. Shadows twisted into a form, a tall figure with the same glowing symbol carved across its face. It spoke with multiple voices layered over one another. Rizadent, your time has come. Evil couldn't tell if the creature was mocking or greeting him. "What are you?" he demanded. The creature tilted its head. "We are what rises when the guardian sleeps. We are the abyss. And soon, the world will be ours." It lunged. Evil barely dodged, summoning a burst of silver fire instinctively. The veil spark flared from his palm, slicing the creature like a blade made of light. The creature shrieked, disintegrating into black dust. Evil collapsed to his knees, shaking, his heartbeat roaring in his ears. He had won, but the mark on his palm now burned like a wound. More were coming. Every night the boundaries weakened. People vanished in seconds. Streets distorted. Time loops trapped residents in repeating actions for hours. Evil became the town's silent protector, fighting unseen horrors while pretending to live a normal life, though each battle chipped away at his humanity. He could no longer tell if the voices he heard were the Veilspark speaking, or the abyss. But then, everything changed when the stranger returned. He stepped out of a tear in the air, exhausted, bleeding silver. "Evil," he rasped, "you're not strong enough on your own." Evil grabbed him before he fell. "Tell me what to do, tell me how to stop this." The man looked into Evil's eyes, pain and resolve mixing in his gaze. "The Veilspark you carry is incomplete. You have only half its power. The other half was stolen." Evil's blood ran cold. "By who?" The stranger's voice cracked. "By Malrith, the fallen Rizadent." Evil felt the world tilt. A Rizadent who betrayed his duty. Impossible, or perhaps inevitable. The stranger continued, "He survived his era by consuming the abyss instead of fighting it. Now he is neither human nor guardian, he is the rift itself." Evil clenched his fists. "Where is he?" The stranger pointed toward the mountains beyond Caravan. "In the Ashen Tower, the one from your dreams. He waits for the seal to break. When it does, the abyss will pour into this world, unstoppable." Evil felt the Veilspark surge within him, fueled by anger, fear, and destiny. "Then I'll stop him." The stranger shook his head. "You will die, but if you die fighting him, you may save the world." Evil didn't hesitate. The next morning, without a word to anyone, he set out toward the mountains. The journey was brutal. Reality warped around him. Pathways folded, unseen creatures stalked him from the darkness. Evil fought them all, each battle leaving him weaker, yet his resolve hardened with every step. When he finally reached the Ashen Tower, an impossible structure that seemed both ancient and alive, he felt the mark on his palm flare with blinding light. The doors opened for him, as if welcoming him home. Inside, Malrith waited. He was once human, but now his body was a twisted fusion of flesh and shadow, and his eyes glowed with endless hunger. "So," Malrith said, smiling with cracked lips, "the new Rizadent arrives." Evil raised his hand, the Veilspark blazing around him. "You stole what wasn't yours." "I earned it," Malrith hissed. "Do you know what it's like to carry the burden alone? To die, reborn, die again, century after century? I refused. I chose power over sacrifice. And soon the world will belong to me." Their battle shook the tower. Silver light clashed with darkness thick as tar. Evil fought with every memory of the guardians before him, every ounce of Veilspark he possessed. But Malrith was stronger, too strong. Evil fell, breathless, bleeding, the mark on his palm flickering like a dying flame. Malrith stood over him. "You were never meant to win." Evil looked up, and in that moment, something inside him shifted. He saw the faces of the past Rizadents, felt their courage, their sorrow, their hope. And he realized something Malrith never understood. The Veilspark was not power, it was unity. Evil slammed his marked palm to the floor, shouting a single word fueled by every guardian before him. The tower ignited in silver light. Malrith screamed as the consumed fragments of the Veilspark tore from him and surged into Evil, completing the seal at last. Evil rose, glowing like a star, every Rizadent's strength flowing through him. He unleashed a single pulse of pure Veilspark. Malrith disintegrated into nothing. The abyss shrieked and collapsed inward. The fractures sealed. The world steadied. Evil fell to the ground as the Ashen Tower crumbled around him, but he smiled. He had done it. He had become the Rizadent the world needed. And somewhere deep in the veil, the guardians whispered, "Well done. This story pulled you in. If Evil's journey, the Veilspark, and the rise of the abyss made your heart race, then like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss the next epic story. Your support fuels the next world, the next hero, the next adventure. Stay tuned, the next chapter will be even more powerful.